hello, welcome or welcome back. Back in the good old days, I used to make costume pieces for my show reel and my portfolio, and that included all manner of pieces like actual clothing, hats, wigs, bags, you name it, I've done it. Okay, cue the sad violins. I don't know why I stopped. I think I just got so caught up in focusing all my energy into creating my business that I forgot what it was like to dress up and have fun, which has always been such a huge part of my life, and I so desperately want to bring that magic back. Operation Bring Back the Magic is a go-go. We're bringing it back. And hopefully today's project is going to be the first of many that I put together for creating this outfit that I have in my mind that is for I'm thinking like cottagecore style beekeeper, like beekeeper, but friend of the bees as well. Like, we can come up with a name for this costume. This is what I have up in my noodle here. So today's project is going to be hopefully the first of many as we assemble this cute little cottagecore beekeeper outfit, and we are going to start at the top. In my mind, the hat is like a combination short suit of a straw hat mixed with a beehive, hanging beehive, like those cute ones that you see in shows and stuff. I am so excited to get started on this project today, so let us be about this. I'm on the big table today because we need some room, baby. We're not mucking around. So we've got some wicker / rattan. This is just some seeded calico that I dyed myself, actually for a different project that never eventuated. So we're going to use this up. I've got a headband that is just a cheapy one from, I think I got it from Lavisa. But I am going to salvage this for parts, as I am also going to salvage for parts this kind of funny, it's actually very pretty, and it came in a pair, candelabra. It is broken, and I was actually going to donate them anyway. So we're going to use the wire and the shape of this for our hat. Some other basic bits and pieces, just some tape and some cardboard that is not too thick. Needs to be bendable, I think, to make a cap. And I also have my head model here. This is Bernadette Peters. I use her for my wig making and hat design. Her head is pretty much the same size as mine, so I will be able to use this to help create a hat that will hopefully be the perfect size for my head. Of course, I'll be using a tape measure just to make sure though. Tools wise, we've got scissors, some wire cutters and tin snips, some little crochet needles, and some gloves just so I don't cut my hands to pieces. Safety first. On hand, I will also have the hot glue gun just in case. I've also got my felt stash and my jute string because I think that might also come in handy. And of course, a giant cup of joe in an on-theme mug because that's how we roll here. So I'm just grabbing Bernadette and adding some tape to her head, sticky side up. I used electrical tape here, but definitely would recommend in hindsight using just some masking tape. It would have worked better and was more sticky and just in general better to use than the electrical tape. Then we're going to take our cardboard and cut out just some strips. Nothing too large or small. These are about the thickness of a ruler, and I'm just going to place those on. What we're trying to achieve here is a little cap onto which we're going to build the armature for our hat. Now, I used cardboard because it's lighter and actually pretty easy to work with. As I said in the intro, I haven't actually made any wearable pieces in a really long time, and so I was just sort of actually just winging it and flying by the seat of my pants here.
just to basically come up with a way of actually achieving what I wanted, which is a base, a strong, sturdy base that I could then build off of with the wire, and then obviously all of the subsequent embellishments that we add later on. Now that we're onto the masking tape part of the process, this ended up being way more sticky and adhering to the cardboard way more easily than the electrical tape. What we're doing here is basically using masking tape to hold the formation of the cap together. At this stage too, using tape is good because if we need to undo anything and change the sizing, we absolutely can. Then it was a matter of removing the crown from Bernadette and checking the sizing.
All right, so this is perfect. Print. No, so this is actually perfect. This is gonna fit my head. It's got enough room at the back. I think maybe I might add one more little strip around the base here. Otherwise we're calling that done. So I'm going to trim like around it and then we can start decorating. All right. Masking tape was definitely better than the electrical tape. It's just sticking to the cardboard way better.
So now we need to trim everything down. I did add one extra strip around the back, as I mentioned. That's just to make sure it sort of snugly fits the back of my melon. And then it was time to tape everything down on the inside as well. At this stage, I was continually just checking to make sure that it still fit nicely on my head.
So this is the base done. Now we can work on the shape.
This candelabra is just made from like a thin but sturdy wire, and obviously you're not going to have the exact same one to use if you try and have a go at something similar to this project, but all you need to do is get some wire that's similar and just fold it into the shape. I actually did pull out wire to use, and then this caught my eye in my like sort of de-stash pile, and I was like, oh, I might just use that. Isn't that always the way, huh? Like either you've donated something and wish you hadn't, or you're about to and save it just in time. I had planned to bend the wire into this hook shape anyway, so that sort of saved me one step of the process. The shape we're going for is kind of a bit of a teardrop shape. Then it was a matter of using my hot glue gun to attach the bottom part of the hook to the inside of the cap. I used the hot glue gun to get it sort of in its place, and then when it was touchable I added some cello tape over the top just to sort of hold it down and make it flat and keep it in place, and then the glue sort of melded the tape to the cap.
Okay, it's giving I'm going on a bike ride during magpie season, but this is exactly where we want to be. It's going to coerce this in a little bit so that it's not quite so round, and then we can tie off the ends.
It was a matter of gently folding the hook part of the wire inwards, gathering them, and then at the very top I did just hold them together with some cello tape, and I just squirted some hot glue down in there and it held everything together really neatly.
I got this bolt of, it's like an open weave Hessian when Spotlight were having their sale, and it was $10 for the whole bolt.
So we're using this Hessian today just to sort of close in the hat and give us a base to work off with our weaving. It's also going to help any holes feel filled once the hat is all finished. I started out by attaching the edge of the Hessian to one of the little arms of the armature with some jute string, and then it was a matter of just gluing it into the cap of the hat, and this actually worked really well because it helped the hat to feel just a little bit more snug on my head. And then yeah, just a matter of working all the way around with the hot glue, keeping it all tucked in and working as I went around. Once I got to the end, it was a matter of trimming off the excess, folding it in back on itself, and then doing the same thing, like using some of the jute string to stitch it on to the armature. And then once I got to the top, I sort of folded the hessian in half and then glued the center of each side to the post of the armature, and then I did the same thing again, folded it in half on the other side, so that basically we had 4 little extra flaps, and then I just cut those flaps away and used the jute string to seal up the holes. That sort of gave us a nice little closed in canopy around the armature, which then obviously isn't too saggy, and it also eliminates a lot of the bulk at the top. It would kind of look a little bit like a present if we left all that bulk up there. So this sort of thinned it out a little bit, which was great.
Okay, after that I definitely need an antihistamine, but because those little particles are flying everywhere. But it's looking great. Can you see the vision? Of this extra will all get tucked in, I hope. I hope it will tighten up a little bit and not be so saggy as we weave. And so finally, after the whole foundation is done, we can start to weave the hat. Finally.
To create the foundation for the weave, I'm going to take the little strippies of seeded calico. They're sort of like a really pretty honey color. I did dye them myself, as I said, for a different project, and then hot glue them from the inside of the base of the cap all the way to the top of the little pointy bit at the top of our hat. And I sort of did this by going like half and half, then half and half, then half and half, you know, all the way around, so that you get sort of a nice even distribution of those strippies all the way around, and hot glued them in place. The hot glue seemed to be working okay. I know it's traditionally not the strongest choice of glue or way of attaching things. For this particular project, obviously you could sew everything, but with time constraints, I sort of decided that the hot glue was going to work fine, and it did. I was happy with it. Then it was a matter of doing the horizontal part of the weave. I chose this sort of light oat color straw. I did have a bunch of straw hats in my wardrobe that weren't being used. I have actually disassembled hats and things to be able to reuse the rattan straw. What do we call this? I don't know, I'm still figuring that out. I then just went over and under and over and under, and then sort of kept wrapping that rattan all the way through. I will say this was incredibly tedious and incredibly time consuming, because you basically have to start at one end and then feed the long end all the way through as you go around, and then pull it through and then do the whole thing again, and around and around and around it goes. Was it worth it? Abso-freaking-lutely. It looks so good. It looks just like a straw hat, and so while in the moment I was sort of cussing myself out and questioning my life choices, I am super happy with it now, and it was definitely worth it. Another choice I decided to go ahead with was to just shorten the length of the tip of the hat. I just decided that little spiky bit at the top was just a bit too long. So it was a matter of just like gently easing the hot glue away, grabbing my tin snips again and shortening that off after having wrapped all the stems in sellotape. I basically just repeated the same process as when I did it the first time, wrapped it in sticky tape just a bit further down, and then trimmed off the excess, and then went back in with my hot glue gun and filled the tip with hot glue, and that seemed to work just fine. So it's time to dive into our useful box. I'm going to grab a couple of these little pine cones and some of these really pretty velvet vintagey style leaves to use on this stem, which I picked up on clearance, as a little grossly undersized and out of proportioned branch for our beehive to hang on. Obviously I just trimmed a little bit away from that, and that's going to be the foundation of our little branch. It's time to seal in the inside of the cap, and the way I'm going to do that is just with some scrunched up tissue paper and some PVA glue, which I know sounds very, very underwhelming, but it did the trick. It's just to make sure that obviously all that tape is held in place. The final step of the process is to add some dry brushing. This is just going to enhance the little details in the weave and also just give it a little bit more texture and dimension and shading. And I'm just using a stippling brush for this, but you know, any stiff paintbrush will do. I've mixed up just some yellow and some dark beige, I guess, fawny color, and it's just sort of created like a nice dark honey color, which will work perfectly. After that's all dry, the hat is finished.
Yeah! Well, I am so chuffed with how this turned out. It's even better than what I had hoped. Okay, I know what you're thinking, girl, you missed a bunch of steps. Yes, I did, and I'm going to walk you through those now.
Class is now in session. I hope you're paying attention.
It was nighttime when I did all of these bits and pieces, and it was very dark and the shots just didn't work out very well. The first thing I did was take the piece of faux foliage and wrap the wire of the leaves around the stem, and then I did that back to front, like one on each side with two different leaves. Then I just used this wool to wrap around the wire and the stem of the foliage. Then I hot glued these little pine cones just onto two of them, and obviously when I put the leaves on, I tried to sort of pick some contrasting sizes to give it a little bit of interest. Then I just hot glued the stem onto the top and then sort of squished the top parts of the hessian around them just to sort of keep it all secure, and that's not going anywhere. It's nice and secure. This is just an oval of felt, and I cut it into an oval shape. Then I cut a little like crescent moon piece of the brown and sewed it on. I then just used PVA to glue it to the hat, but then I also used my brush to brush some of the glue onto it, and that's sort of given it like a nice coating. Then I grabbed some of this raffia twine, and then I just used a wider strip of the seeded calico to wrap around a piece after having measured how much I needed to go around, stitched it around there, and then hot glued it around the edge. If I had my time over, I'd put the join at the top, because it occurred to me afterwards that that's the part that you see most, because it's the bit that would be at eye level when I'm wearing the hat. So I might figure out how to cover that up in the future, maybe with a little bee or something else, or I may just leave it. And then this is also a strip of dyed seeded calico. I had just used a different dye, and that's just tied on the top.
It actually ended up fitting perfectly without the headband. Had I needed the headband, I would have just taped it into the cardboard cap that we made and secured it maybe with some sticky felt just to hold it all in place. But this actually ended up being the perfect size for my melon. It's not too heavy and it's certainly not going anywhere, so I think it'll be quite wearable to events and things. I'm really looking forward now to making some more items for this outfit and seeing it all come together. I think this has certainly paved the way for some fun projects for the future. Don't forget to leave any questions down in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. And if you've enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like and subscribe before you leave today. And I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.